Hello students, today we will take up the first chapter from your textbook Hornbill. The title of the chapter is The Portrait of a Lady. Now this chapter has been written by Khushwant Singh. Khushwant Singh was born on February 2nd, 1915 and he died on March 20th, 2014. He was an Indian novelist, lawyer, politician and also a journalist. An Indo-Anglian writer, Khushwant Singh was best known for his humor and for his abiding love of poetry. He was also the recipient of Padma Vibhushan, the second highest civilian award in India. Some of his major works include a novel titled Train to Pakistan, a short story titled The Voice of God and Other Stories, and an autobiography titled Truth, Love and a Little Malice. So before beginning the reading of the chapter, I will give you a brief introduction of the chapter. The story, The Portrait of a Lady, describes a special bond between a grandmother and a grandson. Khushwant Singh narrates how the relationship between the grandson and the grandmother develops over the years and how it changes as the grandson grows up and the grandmother grows older. Solitude and silence fill the grandmother's days as she distances herself from the real world. She now prefers the company of the gods and the birds. She enters a world of her own and is content with herself. So let us know more about the bond between the narrator and his grandmother. Let us begin reading the chapter. My grandmother, like everybody's grandmother, was an old woman. She had been old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. People said that she had once been young and pretty and had even had a husband, but that was hard to believe. My grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. He wore a big turban and loose-fitting clothes. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest, and he looked at least 100 years old. He did not look the sort of person who would have a wife or children. He looked as if he could only have lots and lots of grandchildren. As for my grandmother, being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. She often told us about the games she used to play as a child that seemed quite absurd and undignified on her part, and we treated it like the fables of the prophets she used to tell us. So, in this paragraph, the narrator talks about his grandmother and he says that he had known the grandmother for the past 20 years and she had always been old and wrinkled. She had wrinkles all over her face. Also, the narrator says that he was told by the people that the grandmother was once young and pretty and she also had a husband. And this was a difficult thing for the speaker to believe because he had always seen her as old and full of wrinkles. Then it is told by the narrator that the narrator's grandfather's portrait hung on the wall above the mantelpiece. Now, what is a mantelpiece? Mantelpiece is a wooden or stone structure which is above and around a fireplace. So, now this picture, in this picture, the grandfather had worn loose fitted clothes, a turban, and he had a long white colored beard, and the length of his beard reached his chest and covered the best part of his chest. So the grandfather too, the narrator says that the grandfather too appeared very old, and the author thought that the grandfather was someone who could have more grandchildren, but it didn't seem after looking at him that he could have a wife or his own children. That means that he looked too old to have a wife and children. Now, the narrator says further, as for my grandmother being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. So, the narrator could never imagine that once his grandmother was young and pretty. He could not connect to this idea of the grandmother once being young and pretty. Now, the grandmother used to tell him and his other cousins about her childhood memories, like the games she used to play as a child. So, the narrator says that they found these stories about her childhood that she also used to play and all. So, they found these stories illogical and disrespectful on the part of the grandmother, because it was beyond their imagination to think that the grandmother was once a child and she also played such games like they do. Okay, now they thought, the narrator and his cousins, they thought that her life's stories which she used to tell, the games and all which she used to play, so all those stories which she used to tell them were like the other fables of the prophets which she used to narrate them. What are fables? Fables are short moral stories. Okay, so it was difficult for the narrator and the cousins and his other cousins to believe in whatever the grandmother told them about her childhood. Let's move ahead. She had always been short and fat and slightly bent. Her face was a crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. No, we were certain she had always been as we had known her. Old, so terribly old that she could not have grown older, and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. She could never have been pretty, but she was always beautiful. She hobbled about the house in spotless white, with one hand resting on her waist to balance her stoop, and the other telling the beads of a rosary. Her silver locks were scattered untidily over her pale, puckered face, and her lips constantly moved in inaudible prayer. Yes, she was beautiful. She was like the winter landscape in the mountains, an expanse of pure white serenity, breathing peace and contentment. So, in this paragraph, the narrator tells us about the appearance, about the physical condition of the grandmother. Of course, we have come to know that she was an old lady. Further, he says that his grandmother was short, fat, and slightly bent in posture. And her face, about her face, the face had lots of wrinkles. He says her face was a crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. So the wrinkles could be seen from one end of her face to the other, which means she had wrinkles all over her face. Okay, then the narrator says that the grandmother seemed terribly old, and he also feels that she had been the same age for the past 20 years, because he had always seen her as old as she was currently when the narrator was narrating all these things about her. Now, according to the author, her grandmother had always been beautiful, but he says that she had never been pretty. So, by this, the narrator wants to say that the grandmother had never been an attractive woman physically, but she had this divine beauty in her. Because of her noble qualities, she had this spiritual beauty, which is why she could be beautiful without being pretty. Okay, now next the narrator tells the readers that the grandmother hobbled around the house, means she walked around the house in an awkward manner, wearing spotless white clothes, with beads of the rosary hanging from one hand, and the other hand rested on her back for her back support, because she had stoop in her back, so therefore she had this other hand rested on her back. So this beads of rosary, it is a string. You might have seen these kinds of string in mostly elderly people, in the hands of elderly people. So this beads of rosary, it is a string kind of thing for keeping count of number of chants, religious chants that an individual does. Okay, so all it is told that the grandmother had silver locks, which means she had grey hair, which were not neatly combed and were disorganized. Now, about her face, again, the narrator says that she had a puckered face, a wrinkled face, okay, and her lips constantly moved in chanting her prayers. Then further, the narrator says that she was like the winter landscape in the mountain, an expanse of pure white serenity, breathing peace and contentment. So, by saying so, the narrator compares the grandmother to a winter landscape in the mountains, which has a peaceful and calm feel. So he says that his grandmother was a live example of a pure, calm, satisfied, contentment, it is written over here, contented and a peace emitting human being. Let's read ahead. Okay. My grandmother and I were good friends. My parents left me with her when they went to live in the city, and we were constantly together. She used to wake me up in the morning and get me ready for school. She said her morning prayer in a monotonous sing-song while she bathed and dressed me, in the hope that I would listen and get to know it by heart. Now all these informations are very important for you people. So keep underlining whenever you find such kind of details. Okay. She said her morning prayer in a monotonous sing-song while she bathed and dressed me, in the hope that I would listen and get to know it by heart. I listened because I loved her voice, but never bothered to learn it. Then she would fetch my wooden slate, which she had already washed and plastered with yellow chalk, a tiny earthen ink pot, and a red pen, tie them all in a bundle, and hand it to me. After a breakfast of a thick stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread on it, we went to school. She carried several stale chapatis with her for the village dogs. Now, so in this paragraph, the narrator tells the readers that the grandmother The grandmother and the narrator were very good friends because they used to live together. And then we come to know that the parents of the narrator were not there living with them, with the grandmother and the narrator, of course, and his parents left both of them with in the village. Means the narrator was there in the village with his grandmother, and the parents went to settle themselves in the city. Now, the author's grandmother, the narrator tells us about what all she used to do. So, the author's grandmother used to wake him up every morning and get him ready for school. Also, she would recite her morning prayers in a very monotonous, in a very dull and boring manner, while she bathed and dressed the narrator for his school. Now, why she sang the morning prayers? The reason is also given. She sang the morning prayers in the hope that the narrator would also listen them up and learn them up. But the narrator here tells us some different thing. What is that? The narrator admits here that he listened to the songs, only to the prayers which were sung by the grandmother, only because he loved the grandmother's sweet voice. So he never actually bothered to learn those prayers or the words which she spoke, but he only listened to those words, he only listened to those songs because he loved the voice of his grandmother. Next, the narrator says that the grandmother would make his things ready before dropping him to school. So she would wash and plaster his wooden slate with yellow chalk. She would fetch a tiny earthening pot. Earthening pot is a pot which is made of roasted or baked clay. And also she would fetch him a red pen and then she used to tie them all in a bundle and hand it over to the narrator for his school. And then the narrator says, after a breakfast of thick stale chapati with a little butter. So, and then the narrator would eat a thick stale chapati with butter and sugar spread on it, and they both used to walk to school then. The grandmother with her grandson. Also, the narrator says that his grandmother carried stale chapatis with her to feed the village dogs who met them on the way to school. When she used to go to drop the narrator to his school, there she also used to give stale chapatis to the village dogs. Let us come to the next paragraph. My grandmother always went to school with me because the school was attached to the temple. The priest taught us the alphabet and the morning prayer, while the children sat in rows on either side of the veranda, singing the alphabet or the prayer in a chorus. My grandmother sat inside reading the scriptures. When we had both finished, we would walk back together. This time, the village dogs would meet us at the temple door. They followed us to our home, growling and fighting with each other for the chapatis we threw to them. So, the speaker's grandmother would accompany the narrator to his school every day. Okay, always she went to drop the grandson every day. Now, the narrator tells us that as the temple was attached to the school, so she used to visit the temple daily while dropping the grandson to his school. She used to visit the temple daily. So, on one side, the speaker would sit on the veranda of his school with other children, and he would sing the alphabets and prayers in chorus, which were the alphabets which were taught to them by the priest, and on the other hand, the grandmother would sit in the temple to read the holy scriptures, the religious books. Okay. Then after the school got over, they would both walk back together to their home. Now again, on their way back home, the village dogs, which they used to feed them in the morning as well, the stale chapatis they used to feed them. So at the afternoon time also, the village dogs would meet them at the temple door only, and they would follow them to their home, again growling and fighting with each other for the stale chapatis that the grandmother fed them. Now then let's come to the next paragraph, which is a very important paragraph again. When my parents were comfortably settled in the city, they sent for us. That was a turning point in our friendship. Although we shared the same room, my grandmother no longer came to school with me. I used to go to an English school in a motor bus. There were no dogs in the streets, and she took to feeding sparrows in the courtyard of our city house. So what has happened now? When the narrator's parents got well settled in the city, in the beginning of the chapter only we came to know this, that only the grandmother and the narrator were living there in the village, and the parents had gone to settle themselves up in the city. So when the narrator's parents got settled in the city, they called the grandmother and the narrator back to the city in order to stay with them. Okay. And this change of place from the village to the city was the turning point of his friendship with his grandmother. And this question usually is asked in your exams also, that what was the turning point of the friendship in between the grandmother and the grandson. So this was the turning point in their friendship. Now he says that, the narrator says that though they shared the same room like before in the village, but the grandmother no longer would give him company to his school because it was an unknown place to her. And there in the city, the narrator started going to an English medium school, and a motor bus would come to pick and drop him. So it is obvious, when a motor bus is coming to pick and drop him up, so the grandmother could no more accompany the narrator to his school like she did in the village school. Also, there is another change. There were no dogs in the streets whom the grandmother could feed as she did in the village. So she started feeding sparrows in the veranda of her house, of their courtyard. This is it for this session. We will take up the remaining portion of the chapter in the next session. Till then, I want you all to carefully go through the section that we have read today. Note down the points which you were not able to understand and mark the difficult words. Also, find out their meanings and try to make frequent use of those words in order to enhance your vocabulary. Thank you, everyone.